Looking at your players today, Paul, how much did Monday's extra time take out of them?
Yeah, there's no denying it. It did take something out of the players more so. That's obviously understandable and backed up by the stats that we collect. But ultimately, we've done what we feel is the best we can on in terms of recovery, and still got a little bit of time, just under 48 hours, I think it is, until kick-off. So hopefully they'll be ready to go come Saturday.
Can you give us an insight on that recovery that you mentioned there? What sort of special tips and tricks do you employ to help you with that process nowadays?
I think not special tips or anything, but we sort of took the decision that we would be in the following day rather than have a day at home, and a big part of that was, I think, sleep came into it, as in a lot of the players struggle to sleep after a game, as probably staff do, but the players are important ones. So I thought you got more chance of getting a better sleep the following day. So like I said, we were in that. They did a recovery session. The players that played either part or the ones that weren't involved had a training session. Some of them went into the cryotherapy and went under that. So yeah, like I said, we certainly, within what resources we have, we're doing everything we can. And that, today was even a session that was light, because we've got a big challenge at the weekend, and you never know, we could be talking about going into another period of extra time on Saturday.
Just out of interest, how does cryotherapy help or work?
I had no idea personally. I just know that it's certainly something that is supposed to help. That's more Greg Howard's department, but obviously going into an extremely cold environment for a few minutes. And we had, I think, a player earlier in the season, was the first player apparently that's been known to not last the time. I'll not embarrass him by giving you a name, but
I'll go on.
No, I can't do that, Matt, to him.
And how long is it that you have to go in there for?
I think it's only a couple of minutes, just over. But one lad couldn't quite manage that. But from the other night, like I said, quite a few of them have undergone that just to help the recovery process, and let's hope it's worked.
Do you see the benefits of it?
I'm sure that it must be. I think for me, visually, no, that's not. You're not going to see that. Lads, the time of the season, everything, they're going to be tired anyway. But the good thing from my point of view is, it's not a friendly that we're going to play. So if, the motivation wise and, digging deep, we spoke about kind of the mantra of never giving up prior to the game, which was kind of strange how decided to really make that point prior to the game of how it came sort of true. And Saturday again will be the same. Whether the game plays out, how it plays out, no one knows yet. But we'll take that same thing on board, and because of what's at stake, then I think that gets you through the game. I'm sure. So the players will have to dig deep again. Of course, they will, against a very good Wrexham team that had a game at the weekend. I was hoping that they might have nicked a late goal to force them into extra time themselves while I was watching it. Didn't quite work out that way, but they've had a game, so it's all on Saturday, and we're looking forward to it.
Are you carrying any fresh injuries from the other night?
I'm not going to say too much on that. We've got a couple of doubts. That's what I will say. I don't really want to go any further than that. I'm sure you can understand why, Matt. So we'll see. We travel across there and then make an assessment tomorrow afternoon, stroke maybe even Saturday morning.
So they are touch and go, are they? Those two players?
we've got a couple certainly that's doubts, yeah.
John McAtee, Ryan Taylor, and Gavin Holohan all limped off on Monday. How are they today?
I'm not falling for that one, Matt.
It's a different way of framing the question.
Yes, you are, but then it's maybe trying to get to an answer. So I'll pass on that one.
Would you like to field the same team again?
I was pleased with the performance. I think we spoke about that. At the same time, the team that in the end, and you don't just win it simply on them moments. You win it across the full period of the game. But I guess that was quite pleasing that we took. Ryan and John were off the pitch in a game that was naturally a big game and had been two big players for us. So for the other players to, go and finish the job off and get the victory that we wanted, I think was very pleasing and satisfying. And I think good for the group as a whole, because who knows, what team it will be Saturday or what situation you might find yourself in. And that's a little bit more power, I think, to the group.
Can you do anything more to stop cramp from affecting your players or not?
They can take the advice on board that they obviously given and make sure that they're hydrated, etc. But some of it, I think, a lot of it is ultimately on the players. And that's not just, an hour before the game. It's not just the day before the game. It's a constant, about making sure you're doing the right things all the time. And I don't think any of them do anything not with the right intentions, but maybe not quite understanding the impact that, diet can have, for example, sleep can have. And the other thing that I've seen happen many times before, Matt, is players get cramp in big games. And there has to be an emotional connection there. I'm convinced of that. We aren't being any scientists, because I've seen it and witnessed it with my own eyes too many times for it not to be.
Have you had it yourself in a big match before?
I think I've had it once or twice, yeah. I think that was just because I was knackered, though, rather than anything else. Once was certainly with 10 men and went to extra time, and we played quite a bit of the game normal time with 10 men, so it was perhaps a little more understandable.
How much did it hinder you from running then?
You just have to grit your teeth, don't you? But it was a game that actually went to penalties, so that walk up to take a penalty with your calf screaming at you and trying to go into spasm wasn't the best experience I've ever had.
I'm sure. Ben Fox was irrepressible on Monday. What sort of difference has he made, do you feel, to your team since coming back from injury?
I don't want to take anything away from Ben, because I agree, since he's come back, he's done extremely well. I think it was the Barnet game when he made his first appearance back and came on and made a big difference to the team, drove us forward, and since then has done well. But I also think, the other players that have played in that areas have done well at times, but it's pleasing, for Ben himself and for us as a team, that he's, a lot of the time you talk about players coming back and it might take them a little bit of time to get back into the swing of it. He's seemingly not needed that period, so that's been very good. And as you said the other night, I thought he had an excellent performance along with Gav. I think he complemented each other well in that midfield area for us. And we know we've got players behind, Ben as well, that can come in and do a good job for us. So pleased for Ben, and hopefully can put in another good performance.
One thing I didn't ask you about after the game, and there were obviously other matters to discuss, Sean Pearson got a yellow card on Monday night. What was that for?
I think he asked the fourth official a question. Perhaps it was deemed he didn't ask it in the right way, or made a comment, perhaps not in the right way. But I think we all know Sean, yourself, you've seen him, and I've spoke many times about him, how he lives and breathes the game, whether he's on the pitch and directly involved, whether he's a sub as he was the other night, whether he's sat in the stadium. I wouldn't want to be a supporter and find myself sat next to Sean. I think I'd have to have earplugs or ask to move. But that, again, it's just the way that he is, the passion that he's got. And, I have to say, towards the end of the game the other night, when it looked like we were, going to have our season ended, you can still hear him. He's shouting to the players, encouraging, driving them on. And it's almost, I think, as enjoyable for me, or almost watching kind of Sean's reaction when we get the equaliser. There's a couple of staff members that were more excited than normal, shall we say. I was slightly more, but there was a couple of others that, sometimes we haven't seen that emotion. But that was nice to see as well. And then very quickly, getting down to earth. Certainly when we got what turned out to be the winner, I didn't have much reaction, and it was more about telling the others to calm down a little bit, because been there before, you score a goal and then the next minute they go up the other end and score straight away and you look silly. I think my emotion was the fact that when we scored the first one, we knew that it was going to, give us at least another period to try and win the game, and thankfully that's how it turned out.
Do you feel you were given the credit externally for that win and that performance the other night? Because some fans have felt that the coverage on the TV wasn't as balanced as it should have been. Do you have a view on that?
I've watched it back, Matt. I'll be honest, I listened to some bits that were said, and then other bits kind of, either sort of glazed over just watching the game. But I'll let other people worry about that. I'll be honest, I'm not really too fussed whether you get the credit or not. Ultimately, we got through, and as you can imagine, after doing the press and having about 2 or 3 minutes that was nice on the coach, I'm thinking about Wrexham, and that's been pretty much my life since Monday night. Is thinking about Wrexham and watching Wrexham, studying them, just to try and, in my mind, where I feel their strengths are, their weaknesses, or, what information to pass on to the players.
Which is fair enough.
Yeah,
I saw you at the full-time whistle, and I think you were signalling 1-1 up to the stand. What was all that about?
I think that was probably just me pointing, and it just looked like 1-1. I think I was just. I
wonder if you were making a point to somebody.
No, just I think pointing at them. Like I said, occasionally you kind of do things you're not really know why or what you're doing. I know I was staring and looking. I'm not really sure what the fingers were about.
Fair enough. Your wife didn't make it to the game the other night. Was she one of the first people you phoned then after the game?
No, she'd messaged and she'd seen the game, sent a little video, but that's that's probably our relationship isn't built much around football, which I'm more than happy with. It's there. And probably there too much on her side. But in terms of us discussing and speaking about it, to be honest, because she was away, it was more about me being back in work and having kids to sort out still.
You sent her a little video, though, you said?
No, she just sent her and a friend just sent a well done message back. That was all.
Okay, that was nice, wasn't it? We were talking about Sean a moment ago, being an ex-Wrexham player. Has he been able to tell you anything about them that you didn't already know?
No, I don't think so, really. There's obviously been some changes. But we've certainly had chats about, 1 or 2 players, or just in general. I think he's still in touch with some of their players, which doesn't surprise me one little bit because of the type of character he is again. But it's I think we've just at various points in the season just spoke about, his time there, the club, etc. And obviously the documentary that'll be coming out in the foreseeable future. Who knows? Maybe one or two Grimsby Town players and staff might make that documentary.
Look forward to seeing it. In the end, Paul, it took a huge effort, didn't it, to beat Notts County? Will it take an even greater one to beat Wrexham, do you think?
I think you'd have to say yes. And I'm not, again, trying to be dramatic or anything like that about it. But ultimately, the fact we played a game, we played the extra time. And there's no doubt about it. The table says we were playing the second best team in the league. Had Ollie Palmer gone to Wrexham at the start of the season rather than joining when he did, would they have won the league? Now we're into crystal ball territory, and I'm sure Stockport would still have had their say on that. But they did, from being at one stage looking like they had no chance of catching Stockport, all of a sudden did. I think topped the table for a very short period of time. And put some pressure on. I think they probably felt a little bit of pressure themselves as well, because they were, as it turned out in the end, that there were a couple of opportunities for them that they didn't quite take. But all the talk has been about getting promotion. They've clearly spent the money to try and achieve that. And I'm obviously hope that it's not this season, because that means we might take advantage of that. But there's no doubt, I'm sure. I think the rest of the league want Wrexham to get promoted along with Stockport, because therefore they feel it's a little bit more of an even playing field going into next season. But for me, obviously that's not the case. But I did read a comment about that we'd spent money as well. I don't know if that was a little tongue in cheek, but I think we know where the money's being spent.
Who said that?
Well, it was attributed to Phil. I don't know if it was a direct quote, but he said about ourselves and not spending money. I kind of must have missed that, but never mind.
Did you have a little chuckle to yourself then? Or did you pick up the phone or drop him a text and say what you're talking about?
No. If he thinks that, then that he's entitled to his opinion. But I don't know if that was trying to ease a little bit of pressure off at his end. Ultimately, we know where underdogs going into the game. Like I said, the table says that. We played that eliminator game. And I think most people tuning in on at the weekend or going to the game, the majority will be expecting to see Wrexham win. We've got to just do all we can to see if we can, make that not happen. That's what we'll be going there to try to do. But we, like I said, certainly know the size of the task in front of us.
How great, Paul, is the threat of the physical and the emotional energy you expended on Monday catching up with you in this game, knowing professional footballers like you do?
Yeah, again, I could quite easily just say there's none, and we go there. It's a new day. We've had 6 days to cover, but like you said, it's 100% the physical. But then there is emotion attached to it. Like you said, linking it as into one or two players perhaps cramping up earlier than they should, things like that. But at the same time, I do think you'll get through it. If you want to get through it, I believe you'll find a way to. If you get a bad injury, obviously you can't continue. But in terms of that and being prepared, we're giving ourselves the best chance to be ready. And I think that the players will be ready. That doesn't mean we're going to win the game, but it means we go into it, with a chance. And I don't want it to certainly be used as any kind of excuse on our part. If after the game, we watch the game and see how it plays out and it looks that way, then yeah, we might have to look at it. But we can't be thinking like that. We've got to, like I said, just give absolutely everything to see if we can get to a final.